Hey BYU fans, welcome back to the wYre with your host, Gerald Gmroyster. But, so here's the thing. We're going to be talking about the upcoming rivalry game, the holy war, if you will, between BYU and Utah. But before we get into that, we got to go over what happened on Saturday, which was an LSU shutting out BYU. So what was that about, Gerald? How did that happen? Why did that happen? We need an explanation.
Right out the gates, let me be honest. That was a brutal game to sit through to the end and watch. It wasn't the best game that they've ever played. By far, it probably was the worst, actually. I mean, it didn't seem like they were really clicking on offense, which, if you watch the Portland State game, you could definitely tell that they weren't gelling. The defense, on the other hand, they did look solid to a degree. I mean, that game easily could have been 54-0. You know, they held them under 30 points, and that's impressive in itself.
Yep, but, you know, to not score any points. I mean, it's LSU. And
exactly.
They're a top-notch team. But I have to say this comes as a shock even to me because BYU is still a Division I ball club that we expect certain things from. And I did not expect them. I mean, granted, I thought they'd lose this game, but I did not expect a shutout. I just didn't see it coming.
Nobody did. I mean, I'm for one, I definitely didn't when, you know, I was looking at the show. I'm like, you know, looking at this game coming up, I'm like, oh, man, they could actually maybe pull something out. You know, this could be one of BYU's, you know, this could be a breakout game for them. If they put up some points, if they even possibly win it, I even had them in my mind. I'm like, man, they could actually win this, possibly. There's a lot going on down in, you know, the New Orleans, the Gulf Coast area. I mean, you got the hurricane that's down there. That affects the emotions of a lot of players. The game's been moved already. So in your mind, you're thinking, man, they could literally pull this out. But alas, we saw what happened, and
yeah, but what do you chalk that up to? Is it bad luck that it was a shutout? Is it that something wrong with the coaching, the players? Who do you blame it on?
Well, it's a plethora of things. I mean, the offense that BYU runs is a pro-style offense. This is a offense that's more relies on timing. You know, most colleges are running, you know, you just get open, I'm going to throw it to you. No, literally, the quarterback has got to look at where his receiver is, where the defense is, where the receiver needs to be, and time that perfectly within about 3, 4, 5 seconds and get the ball to him. And I don't think the timing's there. Now, again, last season, Taysom Hill had a pretty decent season, I would say. They had it tailored around Taysom, and I think they need to find out what works for Tanner and what doesn't. I honestly think, you know, with the offense, the biggest problem is running. They only got -5 yards. That's a tragedy. I'm sorry. I don't care what team you are. You're only getting -5 yards. And again, yes, LSU has a very solid defense. You're talking about a defense where half of those kids are getting NFL looks as sophomores, you know. So, you know, we're looking at a pretty stout defense, and they bodied the offensive line up there. There was no running holes whatsoever, but again, that may be attributed to the fact that BYU doesn't have a set runner as they're trying to replace the Jamal Williams.
-5 rushing yards in a game, I mean, that's... You even think back to, like, the old-school Ravens defense, how they're so great at stopping the run, like, notorious for it. Even then, like, you still expect positive rushing yards, even if it's a couple yards, but -5, wow, it's just horrible. And you know, what can they do to fix that? Do they need to go to a new scheme, new plays?
Yeah, actually, and, you know, I wanted to talk about this last week. I didn't get a chance to, really. But I was actually even looking at the way the offenses ran. The receivers aren't going to get separation. These aren't receivers that are going to break away with amazing separation to get all the way down the field every single play. You can't count on that. But their tight ends are actually solid. Matt Bushman was solid on a few plays, and I think if they ran maybe like a double tight system, kind of like how the Patriots ran when they had Aaron Hernandez and Rob Gronkowski together, I think that could work wonders for the Cougars. I mean, when you have two tight ends, again, that adds blocking. You know, you got extra blockers on the line to handle the run. Not to mention, you have an extra big body receiver that can handle the middle. You keep attacking the middle, keep running the ball. That opens up routes on the outside eventually.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. You got to do something different with the running game, whether it's extra tight ends, bringing in a fullback, or maybe spreading them out and running from the shotgun. But something's got to be a little different than the way they approach the LSU game.
Yeah, again, there was a lot of stuff happening. Again, LSU's a very solid team, but negative 5 yards, that's just terrible. Again, they also, they don't have a set running back yet. Squally Canada, of course, he was pegged to be the number one guy. I think, honestly, there's still a chance for him to be the number one guy and definitely find a route. They just got to figure out what they're going to do on offense, and they got to really, if they don't have a running game, they don't have an offense. You can pass all day, all night, dude. But if you don't have a running game...
Yeah, and it's tough to replace your school's all-time leading rusher.
Not to mention a quarterback who was just as good at rushing. They had
True.
Taysom Hill, who could run just as well.
But let's get on to Utah. Let's get on to Utah. Now, when we talked for the first episode, Utah was one of the games I was thinking BYU would lose. It's one of the tougher games on their schedule, but it's a rivalry game. And in rivalry games, a lot of times things get equalized. It becomes a lot more even of odds because the teams know each other so well. So, does BYU stand a chance in this one? And if so, what do you think their odds of winning this are?
So 6 years. Not 6 years, 6 games. Utah holds over BYU. 6 games in a row. Utah has had BYU's number. I think with everything going on right now, with BYU really trying to find their identity, the way Kalani Sitake coaches, I think that ends here. The buck stops here. I honestly think this is going to be an amazing football game. You're going to see some pretty big hits. These are 2 solid defenses. Utah has a new offensive coordinator, I believe. Yes, they had a new coordinator. And again, you're going to be looking at a defense that's going to look to take over that. Again, BYU also on the other side does have a pretty new system. Tanner, this is his first year in this system, is a full-time starter. But I think the added edge is in Provo. You're at Lavelle Edwards Stadium, man, and it's a primetime game. I think BYU is going to come to play. They got a lot on their line. Pride. They got smacked in the jaw last week by LSU. And I don't think they're going to do this 2 weeks in a row. I think they come out winning this weekend, though.
It was a very interesting how BYU's schedule started because you had the easy game, Portland State, the very, very tough game in LSU, and now they're getting something in the middle. But I think part of this is going to be the mentality the players bring into this game. Are they coming off this bad loss? Are they going to be thinking, oh man, we just got shut out, I'm not feeling good about their playing, or are they going to look on the bright side as, guys, this is going to be a much easier game. We can't get any worse than last week. Let's go out and perform.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a game that's really going to determine the character of this team. You got beat by a team that most of the country predicted you to lose. Let's be honest, it's LSU. They were predicted to lose. In fact, most people would honestly say without a doubt they were going to lose. But this is Utah. This is a different game. This is a very historic rivalry. And like rivalry games, again, like the NFL, the Baltimore Ravens and the Steelers, the Ravens and the Browns. When the Ravens play the Browns, those are always close games. And, the Browns, they stink. They stink on ice. But when they play the Ravens, there's just something about them. They bring their A game. And I think BYU has a lot on the line this weekend. And again, this will set the tone for the entire season, I think. I think this is a very important game. This is a bounce-back game that they need.
Yeah, I think if they lose this game, at that point, it's going to be really hard for them to actually finish this year with a ranking.
No question, you can't lose this.
It's a must-win if they want to be a ranked team when it's all said and done. So, again, my prediction was a loss against LSU and a loss against Utah. Honestly, I would not have expected a shutout loss against LSU, and I think this game will be close. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. Like I said, I'm excited for this game. It's a late one here on the East Coast. It's at 10:30 Eastern Time. It's going to be quite a late one, especially when I have to work the next morning, unfortunately. But
you're still going to stay up.
Oh, I'm still going to stay up and watch every minute. oh, I'm going to stay up and watch every minute, and it's going to be so exciting. Again, this is BYU versus Utah in Provo. This is a different type of game here. I mean, you have, again, another historic rivalry, in-state rivals. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. Under the lights for prime time. You know what? Without a question, I'm calling it. I think BYU's going to win. It's going to be a very close game, but I think the boys are going to wake up. They're going to come out swinging this weekend, and I think they're going to show the country who they really are.
Okay, split decision on the table, but again, when you got 6 games on your opponent, you know, eventually that streak's going to end at some point. So
exactly.
Maybe this will be the time.
So yeah, thank you for watching an episode of wYre. Thank you, Justin, for joining me tonight. So definitely don't forget BYU versus Utah this weekend at 10:30 on ESPN2, I believe. Again, it's in Provo. It's going to be this is college football at its best. So BYU fan or not, if you're just a Lit Sports Online fan that watches us for all other sports shows, tune into this one. This is going to be a really good college football game, BYU fan or not. But as for me, I'm Gerald. This is Justin. Take care. And don't forget to subscribe down below.
Sports mumbo jumbo. BYU versus some other person. Rolling in 5, 4, 3.